Ann Pennington.
Here.
Joseph Deco.
Here.
Karen Martin. Here. Joseph Santino. Mary Ann Caesar.
Here.
Louis Baselli.
Here.
Paul Thompson. Michael Janetti. Tina Headley. Sue Stacy.
Yep.
Albert Milano.
Here.
Guy Belmonte.
Here.
Joseph Dickinson.
Here.
11 present, you have a quorum.
Thank you so much. So public hearing, number 2, I'll let Mike talk about it before we get into opening public hearing number 1. We're gonna remove public hearing number 2 because there's some, inconsistencies in our zoning regs and ordinances that we wanna get straightened out before we, change one thing about it. We wanna, while we're opening the can, and I think that's fair to say, like, instead of, just fixing one little thing, let's open the can and fix everything that should be fixed, so that it has some teeth. And we're waiting for Attorney Capola to get back to us on some of that stuff. So administratively, I'm going to remove public hearing number 2. However, we are going to forward that to the June meeting, which should be June 3rd. God bless you. So we're going to continue that with a definite date of June 3rd. So that'll be a public hearing. We don't need to repost or anything like that. So, we're just going to continue it. So, and then again, when we get into the regular meeting, we're going to remove another item, but we'll do that when we get to the regular meeting. So, public hearing number 1.
Public hearing number 1, to consider and act upon an ordinance entitled "An Ordinance Providing Tax Relief to Spouses of First Responders, Police, State Police, Firefighters, and Emergency Medical Service who reside in the town of East Haven and have died in the line of duty."
So, we're going to read the ordinance, I think is fair, but I just want to give some comment and hear about what you guys think. I know we talked about this a couple of months ago, so I should remember that, but to refresh your memories, this is something that we copied from Southington. We won't say that we were the inventors of this ordinance rather than the copiers of it. So we did make some changes, and Mike will talk about that. But I think this is a good thing. It's not really a union thing. It is an added benefit, hopefully, that we never have to use. And it's sad that we even have to talk about this subject, but the reality is that first responders do die in the line of duty. And, they continue to, whether we train every day and night or we try to get the best equipment, and we do that. This administration has been a huge proponent of safety and equipment for the public safety of this employees at the departments of this town. And this is just showing one step further our continued support of them and their families. Growing up in a family of first responders, as you all know, this is a huge thing, and it's commendable that we're here presenting this. Basically what it is that the spouse of a first responder who dies in the line of duty, who live in the town, employee of the town and live in the town, their taxes will be forgiven for 10 years, up to $10,000, with some provisions that Mike will talk about in a second. I think this is a really good thing, and I hope that we never have to use it. Let's read the ordinance. Mike will give a little bit of an input, and then we'll have discussion.
Tax abatement for surviving spouses of public servants killed in the line of duty. Be it ordained that the East Haven Legislative Town Council hereby adds section to the East Haven Code of Ordinances to read as follows. Pursuant to CGS 12-81X, this ordinance is enacted to provide for property tax relief to the surviving spouses of deceased public servants, specifically police officers and firefighters who are residents of the town of East Haven who died while performing official duties. Eligible surviving spouses shall receive 100% abatement of real property taxes levied by the town of East Haven, not to exceed $10,000 annually. Be it ordained that for the purpose of this section, the following terms shall have the meanings indicated. 1, line of duty death. The death of an active full-time employee of the town of East Haven, a police supernumerary performing duties assigned and approved by the East Haven Police Department, or an active responding East Haven volunteer firefighter within the course of their official duties by felonious or accidental means while performing official duties for one of the following: full-time officers, police supernumerary performing duties assigned and approved by the East Haven Police Department, active full-time firefighters and active responding volunteer firefighters of the East Haven Fire Department within the course of their official duties. Real property, residential property located within the town of East Haven that is owned and occupied by the surviving spouse as their principal residence and is subject to the local real estate taxation. Surviving spouse, the legal spouse of a public servant who died in line of duty, as defined in subsection 1 and who meets the eligibility criteria set forth herein below. Be it ordained that the following criteria must be met in order for surviving spouse to qualify for the tax abatement. The deceased public servant must have been a resident of the town of East Haven at the time of death, and the death must have occurred in the line of duty. The line of duty death must have occurred on or after July 1, 2025. The surviving spouse must have been a resident of the town of East Haven at the time of the public servant's death and must maintain a residency in East Haven throughout the duration of the abatement period. 4, the surviving spouse must own and occupy real property located in East Haven as their principal residence, and said property must be subject to East Haven property taxation. 5, deaths resulting solely from occupational exposure shall not qualify. Be it ordained that the application process shall include the following: 1, initial application. The surviving spouse shall file an application with the East Haven Town Assessor, including proof of line of duty death, verification of residency and marital status at the time of death, proof of ownership and occupancy of qualifying real property. Benefits shall not be applied retroactively for any prior tax year in which the surviving spouse failed to submit a timely application. Be it ordained that there shall be an annual verification for which an affidavit must be submitted annually to the East Haven Tax Assessor affirming continued compliance with residency and ownership requirements. Be it ordained that approval upon receipt and verification of eligibility, the tax assessor shall approve the abatement and notify the East Haven tax collector to implement the tax relief. Be it ordained, upon receipt and verification of eligibility, the tax assessor shall approve the abatement and notify the East Haven tax collector to implement the tax relief. Be it ordained that the abatement shall apply to 100% of East Haven real property taxes assessed on the eligible property up to a maximum of $10,000 per year, and that the abatement shall not apply to any other taxes or to property outside the town of East Haven. Be it ordained that the expiration and termination of the tax abatement shall expire or terminate upon the earliest of the following: 1, 10 consecutive grand list cycles from the date of the public servant's death. 2, remarriage of surviving spouse. Eligibility is limited to the surviving spouse who is legally married to the deceased at the time of death. The surviving spouse ceases to occupy the real property as their principal residence. 4, the surviving spouse ceases to reside in the town of East Haven. 5, the surviving spouse ceases to own the property. 6, the death of the surviving spouse. Be it ordained that the East Haven tax assessor and tax collector shall be responsible for implementing this section and ensuring compliance with its provisions. Be it further ordained that Mayor Joseph Okafor or his designee is authorized to execute any and all documents to officiate the intent of this ordinance. Be it further ordained that this ordinance shall be effective in accordance with the provision of the East Haven Town Charter.
Thank you so much. Len?
Yeah, they should. So obviously would like to thank Southington. We talked to them largely mirrors theirs. Obviously it's in our format. We did make some changes. There's some additional restrictions. They did not have the remarriage provision. They didn't have the retroactivity provision. The occupational stuff we excluded because there are statutes related to it. I know that obviously the chairman is aware of this, that there are certain statutes out there that deal with cancers that are presumptively related to firefighting. And that they've even exempted those types of occupational hazards from workers' comp. So we felt that keep it separate. This is a different thing. The retroactivity is different. They did have the retroactivity in theirs. Just to give you some background, 1281X, so it looks like X, it should be something, it is actually subsection X. And that's just the Connecticut General Statute that authorizes the legislative body, like our legislative body, to enact this type of legislation that, positively affects public servants like police and fire. So largely identical to Southington with the limited, I should also say that both chiefs supported. I think you got letters.
I'm gonna read the letter in the record.
Yeah,
I didn't get the fire chiefs, I got the police
you
chief.
got letters from both chiefs. I talked to them as we were kind of going through some of the stuff, and I talked about the supernumeraries and the volunteers. So we felt that obviously they're out there putting themselves in danger, and that they should be included as well. And obviously both chiefs supported that, so I included that. Other than that, I think it's self-explanatory, and I agree with the chairman. Hopefully we'll never have to, and the chiefs, and I know you all agree that we never have to use it.
Just before we get into discussion, just for the record, I just want to read the letter that I got
I
from
have the
the,
letter.
oh, you did?
I
Okay,
have both of them.
okay. I didn't get the fire chief, so that's perfect. I'd like to see.
You want me to read it?
No, you just included the minutes, it's fine.
Well,
Okay, if you want to read them, read them.
Yeah, they should.
Okay, fine, fine.
We're gonna go to public.
Not yet.
Or this.
No, go ahead.
Chairman Joseph Deco, East Haven Legislative Council. Dear Chairman Deco, and members of the East Haven Legislative Town Council, I am unable to attend in person. Instead, I am ready to express my strong support for the proposed ordinance entitled Tax Abatement for Surviving Spouses of Public Servants Killed in the Line of Duty, submitted under the authority of the Connecticut General Statutes 12-81X. This measure reflects our community's commitment to honoring the ultimate sacrifice made by East Haven's police officers and firefighters who die in the line of duty. Providing 100% property tax abatement up to $10,000 annually for their surviving spouses is a compassionate, meaningful way to offer lasting financial relief and acknowledge their immense loss. The responsibilities and risks assumed daily by our first responders are profound. When tragedy strikes, the impact reverberates not only through our town, but deeply within the families left behind. This ordinance ensures that the spouses of those who gave their lives in service are not forgotten and are supported in a tangible way that helps them maintain stability in their homes and community. I commend the council, Mayor Joseph Kuffour, and all involved in the thoughtful drafting of this ordinance. I respectfully urge you to adopt this important legislation and lead by example in supporting those who have borne the greatest cost of public service. Although I hope no family ever will invoke this proposed ordinance, I want to thank you for your time, attention, and continued dedication to the town of East Haven. Sincerely, Edward R. Lennon, Jr., Chief of Police. The second letter is, dear members of the East Haven Legislative Town Council. I write to you today to share my full support for the critical piece of proposed legislation before the East Haven Legislative Town Council. The ordinance entitled Tax Abatement for Surviving Spouses of Public Service Killed in the Line of Duty, advanced under the authority of the Connecticut General Statutes 12-81X. This ordinance seeks to provide 100% property tax abatement up to $10,000 annually for the surviving spouses of firefighters and police officers who lose their lives in the line of duty. It is a meaningful and compassionate measure that reflects our town's deep appreciation for the risks assumed by its first responders. In addition to honoring those lost in service, this ordinance plays a vital role in supporting our active and responding volunteer firefighters. As part of our ongoing efforts to sustain and strengthen our volunteer incentive program, this benefit affirms that East Haven is committed not only to encouraging volunteerism, but to protect the families of those who give their time and potentially their lives. To safeguard this community, volunteers who dedicate countless hours to emergency response deserve to know their sacrifice is respected and their loved ones will be cared for should tragedy occur. Our firefighter career and volunteer alike stand together in duty and purpose. This ordinance offers a tangible show of support for all who wear the badge, while also reinforcing the town's investment in maintaining a robust and resilient fire service through incentives that value the well-being of our members and families. I commend Mayor Kafora, the town council, who have been unwavering supporters of the East Haven Fire Department. As public servants, we know the weight of responsibility we carry each day. It is reassuring to see our town recognize this importance of standing with our families both now and in the future. While we hope this ordinance will never be needed, its adoption would send a powerful message of unity, gratitude, and enduring support. I respectfully urge our elected officials to enact this important legislation, and I encourage all members of the East Haven Legislative Council to support it proudly. Thank you for your continued dedication to service and to one another. Respectfully, Matthew Marcarelli, Chief of the Fire Chief.
Thank you. Is there any public that would like to comment? No, we have two members of the fire department here that will maybe benefit by it, God forbid. I'm calling you out.
I don't want to
Come on.
stop.
Want me to go or?
Yeah.
Say it? So,
Take your name and address.
Chris Bordeaux, 17 Mount Duck Street, East Haven. No, I think as I say, I think it is a really good thing, and I thank the town for including the volunteers in it, because there is a lot of times that benefits are offered to first responders, but people forget about people that give their time for free to do the same job. So as a 22-year volunteer in this department, I do appreciate that. And thank you guys. We do consider this. And then just for all of the first responders, it's an important thing. Some people here may not even know that we had a line of duty that many, many years ago in East Haven. So it does happen, sadly, and hopefully it will never happen again. But to have this in place is a great thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. All right, anybody else? All right, back to the council. Any comments? June? I think it's great.
Yeah, no words. Most definite. Perfect. Oh, wow.
Hearing Committee, East Haven Town Council.
Keep going. I know, but in case someone has a comment. Anybody else? All
Everything to do. It's a no-brainer. No-brainer.
right,
Self-explanatory.
let's close public hearing number 1. We have to close public hearing number 1. I have a motion to close. Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
The Hearing Committee, East Haven Town Council recommends the full council adoption of the aforementioned ordinance.
Okay, may I have a roll call, please?
You want a roll call?
That's what you have on your note, this is call for roll call. Okay, we're good. Voice vote is good enough. Okay, all right. We're gonna move right into our regular meeting of the council. Yeah. Did I do a voice vote? I'm sorry. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Any abstentions? Hearing none. Sorry. Okay.
Spent a lot of money.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, and amongst other things. Wait till I tell you that. Okay, no. All right, we're gonna move right into the regular meeting of the East Haven Town Council, calling to order at 7:26. May I have a roll call, please?
Ashley Lesko.
Here.
Ariana Santiago.
Here.
Ann Pennington.
Here.
Joseph Deco.
Here.
Karen Martin.
Here.
Joseph Santino. Mary Ann Caesar.
Here.
Louis Baselli.
Here.
Paul Thompson. Michael Genetti. Tina Headley. Sue Stacy.
Here.
Albert Luana.
Here.
Guy Monte.
Here.
Joseph Dickinson.
Here.
11 present, we have a quorum.
Thank you. May I ask everyone to rise for pledge allegiance? I pledge allegiance.
To the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Item number 1, approval of minutes. We have a motion? Second?
Second. Second.
Do you have a comment?
I got it.
Oh. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Any abstentions? Hearing none. Item 2, correspondence.
Okay.
Okay, item 3, I'm sorry. Yeah, item 3. Yeah, item 3, the subcommittee, education, library, and school building.
Well, yeah, the library.
Yeah, you want to talk about?
Yeah, so we had a water damage issue, appears to have been caused by a water line, by, the from the W.B. Mason, water tank, the water cooler. Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah, so, which is good, I mean, it's bad that it happened, but there's subrogation, so it's not, we won't be dinged. It's nothing to do with the maintenance of the building, it had to do with, very clearly appears to be, a hose that, pipe that feeding the water systems that broke and caused damage. We're in the process of evaluating that, the level of damage, it seems to be fairly significant. The library, we're gonna meet with Sarah, we met with the insurance company yesterday on some technical stuff, coverage issues, things of that nature. I'll meet with Sarah this week, and then I'll go to the, library, board meeting, which is May 15th, correct? And explain to them, and obviously we'll give you an update as to what we're doing. But, unfortunately, it looks like it's gonna have to be closed for a fairly prolonged period of time. But we're gonna talk to Sarah about what the best time to do that is, because you're talking about, removing, books and relocating things. But again, all covered, no exposure. I would have a $25,000 deductible, but other than that, they're all been covered. It's unfortunate.
Mike, where was that meeting being held?
I think it's in high school,
It's
right?
to go to the high school in the library meeting center, the high school, adult ed, Overbrook, Folsom Church, PTV, have all really supported the library, giving them places to hold their programming and meetings while it goes. Just so you know, you can borrow books from any library in the state with our library card. So you can still get your books.
Well, I'm only asking because there are books in the book return.
They return, some of Public Works brings them in
Oh, they do.
in the morning.
you're not gonna get charged late fees.
No, it wasn't
We don't
for
charge
me,
anything.
but I always make sure I bring them on time, so. I just didn't know what they were doing.
All right,
So with that, I know it's early, but that deductible, like, does that go back to?
Yeah, we'll not only subrogate, I mean, our insurance carrier is Chubb Insurance, they'll subrogate against, against WB, and we certainly will as well for our deductible, so. I mean, it's really, everything's gonna be covered, I think the issue is some of the restrictions on the library and the staff here, so, we're gonna coordinate with Sarah, who's wonderful, as you know, and, figure out the best time to do that. Once we have all the information, we're gonna.
all right, public health, safety, and welfare.
I got a little report on the fire department. The police department minutes from their meeting have not been published yet, so what I do have, fire department, so I'll do this really quickly. Assistant chief continues to fill a huge gap in the department created by the fire marshal's absence due to injury. We are awaiting a bumper on engine 4, has 6-week lead time when it was ordered. That one is the one that, from the car accident that they ran away on the corner of Dodge and Hemingway. So they're waiting on a bumper for that. That's pretty good that they only need a bumper. That accident. New Haven Regional Water Authority is nearing completion of the installation of the new water main on Cozy Beach Avenue. Charlie told me it would be done probably within the next 2 weeks. And then they would be starting, by the end of May, they'll be starting the repaving the roads again, and fixing the sidewalks and that stuff. Anyway, that's a different matter. 2 firefighters are on long-term injury leave. 1 firefighter is on extended sick leave post-surgery. There are currently 2 firefighter vacancies, 1 battalion chief vacancy. The battalion chief test was announced to open to current captains. The department was present at the last civil service meeting at the request to explain the board's desire to have a competitive exam for the position. The process is being handled by the civil service director. The fire marshal position has been posted. 2 personnel applied. The department is sending them for certification training course, which started last week and continued through the summer. I have a whole list of all the things that they went on, because it's just 1 month. It's quite amazing, all the calls they go on. Thankfully, there was only 1 house fire, but there was an awful lot of rescue and emergency medical response calls. it'll all go in the minutes. That's all I know.
Thank you. Finance.
I just wanted the council members know that as of the last meeting, Board of Finance has also requested monthly expenditure reports from the Board of Ed, which I think is so important. So maybe between Chris and myself, we'll want them every month to make sure we get that.
Mr. Chairman, may I go back to the
Yeah,
police?
sure.
I do want to address something that the police commission is dealing with. We have hired Deanna Engineering to evaluate the frontage road situation. So we have been, I mean, if you look at social media and the way people say things, yeah, that one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I've
we've
been
been,
talking to Alan about that.
well, we've been working on it for almost 6 months. We have a tremendous amount of data. It's been actually longer than that, but Deanna has been working on it. So we're gonna be holding a couple of public hearings related to the police commission. Deanna Engineering is our traffic expert, who has come up with some thoughts and ideas based on the evaluation of data, which, by the way, is extremely interesting and not at all what I thought it would be. Obviously, there's a lot of accidents there, but the time of day they occur was not what I in any way, shape, or form thought. So over the course of the next month or so, those are going to be posted. That information will be shared. The mayor today met with the Department of Transportation. They were meeting on something else, and they kind of pulled them in to evaluate the data that we have from our experts and the proposals that they are making to make that intersection what's safer, at least what we can do. We don't control the state roads there, obviously. But, so there's gonna be a couple public hearings, there's gonna be recommendations made and by DN Engineering to kind of hopefully eliminate some of the issues. And now the DOT's on it, Mayor got them on it through Christine.
Good, because I was going back and forth with her for like the last 3 months, asking her to please help with that. And, she's the chairman of the transportation committee in the Senate. You would think, she even said, you would think I'd have a little pull.
Yeah.
So she's really trying to get.
No, they were actually in to evaluate, believe it or not, in front of Twin Pines, they were talking about putting a traffic calming roadway there. And we said that it makes no sense. I mean, and Jamie Cosgrove from Rampart was in the meeting in the mayor's office today, and he said the same thing, and that's when both the chiefs were there as well, and pulled in the data that we have from DN Engineering, who's the same expert we had for Tweed and traffic studies. And they said, wow, we really should be evaluating that rather than what we were told about in front of Twin Pines Diner.
Since they did that reconfiguring of that intersection, it's been much better.
Yeah.
I would say. Remember when it used to come out on an angle and you'd have to look back like that?
So they were talking about putting, one of the rotary, which is currently that's the new thing now. Yeah, and now they realize after seeing the data that we presented them today that their focus needs to be on their portion, their responsibility of frontage road. That doesn't mean that we can't act on some of the things that are being proposed to us on the things that we control. So we think that'll be a positive thing. So
That's a good question. It's not related to specific, it is related to traffic, but the obstruction where we just had somebody get hit over by browsers at Fox, that has to be looked at by the DOT because the obstructions from the guy on the other side who has nothing with his property with cars and buses parked there. In the morning, I see it every day. You guys know what I'm talking about? That corner where the intersection is.
So someone hit a couple weeks ago.
Somebody was almost killed there.
I'm not that familiar with it, but if there's something.
Well, I have asked the chief about it in the past, but I'm just wondering if there's a solution. I know it's tough to get, it's a state road, but, maybe we get there's a light there, but still, there's a lot of.
I think getting the DOT to evaluate things sometimes can be difficult. They're actually in town on 3 things right now, obviously Coleman Hemingway being the biggest and most significant one. Now they were in town obviously for the frontage road, which had a Rampart at least Haven impact. That's why both towns were there. But now that we've moved into frontage, so they'll be on all 3. So we can certainly pass it on. I know the chiefs will pass it along.
Yeah, I mean, they've been good about it, but I know it's a state road, so I
Yeah.
don't know if the timing of the light is wrong or something, but what happens is, and I run that road, so I see it. You hit the button, to walk, and you get like 6 seconds. And then cars, I mean, you're like still white with the little guy, and they're turning. So maybe there's not enough time there, and there's obstruction because when you're coming up, you know what I'm talking about, guys? You see the big bus there?
There was a sign that says yield to pedestrians, even though the light is green.
Yeah, yeah,
Something as simple as that.
Yeah, actually, we have that on,
Which one? One
down the wheel.
yeah, right there.
Yeah.
That's bad.
There's a big no turn on red right there, no basic.
Yeah. But sometimes when you're coming down from the other way, like if you're coming down and he has those cars there, it's crazy.
Hey, I can certainly, we can talk to the chiefs about it. I just wanted to give you an update on front of
That guy's,
That's gonna have to be dual state and
Cross.
It was on our budget.
we're planning, not planning on waiting for them, but we can do some things that.
So does East Haven own up to the traffic light before it becomes Summit Road?
We,
That little piece? right
yeah,
there?
but you still have to be careful of what you do, yes, but you even have to be careful doing things on town roads that impact state roads. There are statutes that are related to that, so there's a couple of ideas on the table. I don't think it's appropriate for me to discuss them here far from an expert, but I just wanted to give you a heads
Yeah,
up
that's
that
great.
that's, your constituents are, we've really got some heavy data, and there is a plan, and both chiefs have been involved. Jonathan's been involved, Charlie's been involved, and obviously we've hired retained experts. That's coming.
Perfect, thank you. Urban renewal and housing, I assume there's nothing, because there hasn't been anything going on there. Blight, everyone saw the report from Chuck that Alf forwarded. A lot of stuff going on. It's good to see.
He's doing a great job.
Yeah, Chuck does a great job.
Apparently chicken coops have become an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, only in certain areas though.
District 1 and 2, it's like the 20 feet ordinance.
Yeah, that's a zone, not
Yeah.
district.
Oh, zone,
Yeah,
zone, right.
roosters.
Zones 1 and 2.
4 acres, 1 rooster for 4 acres.
yeah, there's a lot of different things. Because the problem is, and I had them years ago, that you had to have it more than 20 feet away from your property line. And a lot of those properties don't have 20
Yeah.
feet,
Yeah,
so.
because of the price of eggs.
The price of eggs are going up, so everybody's doing it. Yeah.
Go growing chickens.
So I have a question about the light, actually, and so I hear conflicting stories about this case too. There's a case on Second Avenue where I'm hearing that they're being fined $100 a day and whatever, as much as can possibly be done. Then I have someone else telling me, there's nothing being done, nothing's happening.
So I don't want to talk specifics in
Yeah, that's
the
why I
meeting,
didn't
but
say the number.
But if you look in your report from Al, that is addressed. So that's addressed.
So yes or no on the
There are liens on the property.
And evaluating this.
All right. Before we get into the rest of the meeting, there is something that we need to add. And I will ask for your approval to add it. So I'd like to add it as item, we'll call it 6.1. We're going to take off item 6, so we'll call it 6.1. This is just, Lou's going to read it, and then I'm going to ask to add it, and then we'll take action on it after.
Okay, yep, I'll read it. Sorry. Move to add agenda for approval, master municipal agreement for rights of way project. Be it resolved that Joseph A. Kapoor, Mayor, is hereby authorized to sign the agreement entitled Master Municipality Agreement for Rights of Way Project.
Have a motion? Mike, you made the motion second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, any abstentions? Okay, that'll be item 6.1. Okay, item number 4.
To consider and act upon the following transfer approval by the Board of Finance and refer to the Town Council for approval. Refund $2,602.24 -2022-01-0006471. Colin McCune overpayment made by CoreLogic, 51 Francis Street. Reason for refund, the second installment made in January 2024 was paid by the homeowner online in the bank CoreLogic. Because CoreLogic made the most recent overpayment, they are due a refund. Refund $2,841.73, 2023-01-0006462. Colin McCune overpayment made by CoreLogic. 51 Francis Street, reason for refund, the second installment made in January 2025 was paid by the homeowner online and the bank CoreLogic. Because CoreLogic made the most recent overpayment, they are due a refund. 3, refund $2,415.71, 2023-01-0003855. Kyung Ting Soo, overpayment made by CoreLogic. 240 Hemingway Avenue C. Reason for refund, the second installment made in January 2025 was paid twice, once by the homeowner via personal check and once by the bank CoreLogic. Because CoreLogic made the most recent overpayment, they are due a refund. 4, refund $3,444.49, 2023-01-0004497. Highlands Property Rentals LLC, overpayment made by CoreLogic, 34 Highland Avenue. Reason for refund, sale of property paid by both the closing attorney and the bank escrow of CoreLogic, $33,700.
Okay, so we'll do motion second, have discussion, and then we'll close. Correct me if I'm wrong, we have to vote on these individually because they're all separate, right? Okay. Motion, so moved, second.
Second.
Anything you want to add?
The only thing I'll add is, on number 4, I'm unsure that 33,700, I may have accidentally added that to my notes, but that number does not.
Okay, Michael will add it up right now before we vote on it.
Say again. No, that 33,000 is not part of any of the refunds, so.
Is it the total, but it's definitely not the
It's not
total?
the total, yeah.
Okay,
I don't know where it
so let's forgive that number and
Yeah.
we don't know where it came from. Okay, anything else about any of them? They're pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, I mean, 1 and 2 are the same person, so they just like paying their taxes even though they're bankers, so that's why they're on there twice. It is for
Somebody should
2
tell me.
separate grand list years.
Yeah, how does that happen? I mean, a repeat offender?
Well, we can't, the banks wire us. We can't stop a wire. So like, for example, CoreLogic might send us a wire for 3 million, 9 million. It's a big wire. So when we get that file, it's a ton of properties. So we don't reject it if there's 1 or 2 overpayments because we want that money. So they'll make the payment and then usually within a couple days, the homeowner goes online, also makes a payment. So in this scenario, that's what happened. The bank paid us and the homeowner paid us.
So they did it in 2024 and they did it in 2025, but they won't do it in 2026.
Should
We
we
shall
tell them?
see.
Should we tell them?
Well, like I said, the repeat offenders, how do you
Yeah.
address?
Yeah, I mean, we do communicate a lot, so if we haven't already, we'll send a letter and say, by the way, we kind
Pay
of,
your taxes.
we get a little wary of doing that though, because you never know what could happen, because this person
Sure.
could pay the mortgage off, and then they're like,
Sure.
no, but Shayna said, do not, so, it's a little tricky, but I'll check and see if there's any way we can prevent them from making the.
It's always better to have it this way than not.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
right,
It
yeah.
could be too, the second installments, I will say, I don't think we got CoreLogic till the 31st, if not the first. So some of these people go online, see their taxes aren't paid, freak out and make a payment.
Yeah.
And if I get it on the 31st, it's not gonna update online. You won't see that till February 1st.
So
and that's
CoreLogic
when
should
it-
be an automatic wire by the deadline, right? But it comes in
Yes,
late.
but they don't,
They just, well, they're probably earning a little bit.
Yeah, they want to
on
hold
that,
money.
but
We're talking about
so
millions
they-
and
yeah,
millions
so
of
they'll
dollars.
pay up until the last minute.
So if they end up late, does the homeowner get penalized for
Well, not the
being
homeowner,
late?
I mean, depending on which bank, like, for example, I'll throw myself out there, I escrow, and I was up until the 30, I'm like, first, they didn't pay my taxes, and I'm like, this can't be happening.
Yeah, I'm the
long
tax
story short-
collector.
Yeah, I was like, this is insane.
That would look bad.
Yeah, and so I was harassing them, and they did end up getting my payment through, and there was, no, they got mine.
they got yours,
They got mine,
didn't get
they
the
got
other two.
The other person who escrows with the same bank as me was calling, and I'm like, I'm in the same boat, so we're trying to figure this out. Hers did not get paid on time. Bank had to send an additional payment for the interest, and they told her she was not gonna be on the hook for that it was going to be. the
So they
bank.
have to pay
So they
those
have to
late
figure that out, but there is, I mean, if it's not postmarked or received by that time, interest, it is what it is.
Wow.
And it falls back on the homeowner.
I mean, that's between you and your mortgage company.
Right.
You can make because don't forget, CoreLogic is an umbrella. So if your mortgage is Rocket Mortgage, they use CoreLogic. So Rocket Mortgage is gonna take that payment from you in like December. They're gonna get it to CoreLogic. CoreLogic's gonna wait till the other, I think they have like 8,000 properties with CoreLogic. Once they get all those payments, then they make the wire transfer to us. So,
Have you ever had any issues with people trying to scam through these wire transfers?
not
Not yet,
yet.
not yet. I mean, the biggest scam or conspiracy thing that we've had is just the check washing. I mean, I can't say it's a huge problem, but at least a half dozen or so per season are people getting their checks stolen in the mail. Sometimes at the post office, sometimes right out of their mailbox, sometimes in the blue mailbox. So we've had a half dozen or so, they'll get our delinquent demand and the person comes in or calls, they're like, no, I paid and here's the canceled check, but it's not canceled by the town of East Haven.
When I was at work, I'm sorry, we had Yale send in a wire transfer for $3.5 million. And someone scammed through Yale and stole people's emails, several on our side and their side. And they set up a whole portfolio of documents from the banks. And they made off with $3.5 million.
One thing I'll say is that, we're much smaller, right? But Megan's on our bank account every day. So every deposit that we make, including a wire, including the checks that we deposit in the office, including the cash that we deposit and our online payments, those are reconciled every single day, Monday through Friday. So if it's a dime that's off, it's usually solved by the end of the day. So we reconcile every day to make sure that we don't end the month and then go, oh, what happened to this? So we really try to keep it up.
That's awesome.
And the banks get it right, because the last person they want to talk to is Megan. We all
I've been in my house almost 39 years, and I used to mail in my checks, just like everybody else. Well, one time, they never got my check, and I got charged, and I was livid. From that day on, Jana, you can tell, I go in that tax department and hand my payment in, and that was 38 years ago.
If I could tell everyone that sends a check to not do that anymore, I certainly would.
No, won't do
If
it.
it's $1, they do it online, just do it
Do it
online.
online, or, if you're gonna fill out a check, they recommend now that you use a gel pen so that it can't be washed or wiped. That it's very hard to go over that, so a gel pen, or bring your check into the office, because then you're there, you have the receipt, we have the check, and it's done. Because we can't really rely on the mail service, especially with checks.
Exactly. They'll never leave your payments ever, ever. So when it was late, I was like freaking out.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
and I had to pay like $50 fine. I was pissed. Well, I was mad.
Literally, you still are.
I know.
38 years later.
38 years.
I'm not even 38 years old yet.
I don't know how you
38
build your
years
house at
later.
30, you're only, 42 years.
Oh, yeah, sure. All right, so we have to vote on these individually, so, 4.1, may I have a motion? So moved. Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, any abstentions? All right, 4.2, motion? So moved. Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, any abstentions? 4.3, motion? Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Any abstentions? Hearing none. 4.4, motion. Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Any abstentions? Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Thanks,
Great
guys.
job. Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
All right, item number 5.
To consider act upon an ordinance entitled, an ordinance providing tax relief to spouses of first responders, police, state police, firefighters, and emergency medical service who reside in the town of East Haven that have died in the line of duty.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
okay, may I have a roll call, please?
Joe, may I ask you, Joe?
Yes, yeah, of course.
You don't put in, you didn't have volunteers in there, is it? I mean,
Yeah, no,
It's in the ordinance. I just want to make
should
sure
that be added in?
that's in the actual text of the ordinance. Okay. All right. Good, anybody else have any questions?
I just have one
Sure,
question. Who determines the line of duty depth? Who would make that final call?
So it would be, technically, it would be by the state medical examiner who would give the cause of death, which then would fall back on the town to acknowledge that it was a death in the line of duty.
Okay.
But, this is kind of a little bit off topic, but seeing that there's a subject matter expert in the room, when we get a death certificate, it will literally say blunt force trauma to the, actually, we can verify this, blunt force trauma to the head caused by whatever. So it's very clear, especially in one of these cases. As you guys, most of you know, that we just handled the funeral for a police officer from Yale University who they classified as a line of duty death. He went home, died of a heart attack after work, but he went home sick from work with chest pain. So his death certificate was myocardial infarction, but they ruled it a line of duty death because he technically had the heart attack while at work.
So his chief made that call,
His chief made that call. University, yep.
but
Chief
normally
Campbell.
the state examiner.
Well, the report, the death certificate did say that, and then the chief went above and said he went home sick from work with chest pain, was on his way to the hospital, was on his way to call the ambulance, call 911, and died in the meantime. So it was actually still within his working hours. There's a lot to it, but typically it would be the state medical examiner who does in cases like that would automatically get an autopsy, and they would automatically be ruled, the death certificate would be filled out by the medical examiner, who would make that determination, and then it would fall back on the town. Ultimately, Mike would be the one to say, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we would be making the determination, would be a higher power. There's a lot of, for firefighters, certainly,
Yeah.
there's life insurance benefit, there's
Yeah.
a whole bunch of pension issues that are different.
State and federal
Right,
benefits.
state and federal benefits, so, these, when public servants like that, are killed or pass, that evaluation is made at the state and federal level.
But you also have to understand too, that the town's not gonna try and challenge something that's like, hey, this guy was in a house fire, this guy or girl was in a house fire, they died because a beam fell on them. No one's gonna question that.
Right.
It gets, like Mike and I were talking a little bit earlier today about it, like there's some things like the state of Connecticut in the legislature just passed a law stating that firefighters, whether they're career or volunteer, who get the big C is presumptive that they got it from the job. So, this is something that we need to evaluate down the road, and we don't want to really get in the weeds too much now. We want to get this on the books. And there's a whole host of things, chemical exposures and blah, 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 like you just keep going. But, this is like hey, if something happens, they're covered, so.
Yep.
Anything else? Okay. Roll call. Yeah, I have 2 check marks next to it, so that means yes. Who made the second? Marianne?
Ashley Ruska,
Yes.
Mariano Santiago,
Yes.
Ann Pennington,
Yes.
Joseph Yeko,
Yes.
Karen Martin,
Yes.
Marion Caesar.
Yes.
Joe Spacelli,
Yes.
Sue Stacy.
Yes.
Al Valano.
Yes.
Michael Monte.
Yes.
Joseph Kinsey.
Yes.
All in favor.
Thank you so much. Before we adjourn, like I said, we're going to remove item number 6 and revisit that in June. But I just want to talk about, we're going to be doing a special meeting.
We can do it in June if you want.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's up to you guys, whatever you guys.
Well, if there's no deadline, then we're going to. Okay, can I have a motion to?
We have to add the,
So moved.
we have to add, didn't we add something?
Well, that's like
6.1. 6.1, no, 6.1, right away.
Oh, duh.
Yeah.
6.1. Sorry.
We're gonna remove it, I thought.
No, 6.1, what we
We
added.
added 6.1.
Oh, that we added. That's the DOT.
Yeah, it's a,
Sorry.
no, it's okay, it's the master municipal agreement for rights of way. Yep, you got
Be
it.
resolved that Joseph A. Kuffour, Mayor, is hereby authorized to sign the agreement entitled Master Municipality Agreement for Rights of Way Project.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any questions?
Nothing more or less than a cooperation agreement between the state and the local municipality on rights of way, Clemens Road, timely stuff, going any with those kind of things.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
7:57. Thank you so much.